All right, thank you for Polly for being a part of this, and good night. Hang around if you like to, or not, and I will talk to you later. All right. Well, our next poet, Zen Garcia. Hopefully, you are ready, and thank you for showing up promptly and being here. Of course, he probably needs no introduction for definitely for the Tuck crowd, but you never really know because this video might bring in people who aren't too familiar with this channel or his. So Zen Garcia is he is well, he started out. I could say this because I've written pieces of his biography. He started out as a deadhead, believe it or not. That makes him pretty legit here as a poet. He had a moment with Jerry Garcia back in the day. He has been a long time activist, but even more impactful than anything else he's done is Zen Garcia was the guy who gave many people permission to search for wisdom in extra biblical books. Now, today, you know, so many people have been reading extra biblical books that they probably don't even think about it that much. But Zen was the guy who, you know, broke through when it was taboo to do that, and he continues to do that. Of course, he is the head at Sacred Word Publishing. So, bringing you up to stage, Zen. Welcome. Hopefully, you're ready to go.
I am, brother, and I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to be here with all of the other poets. And I appreciate our long-standing friendship. You've been a great brother and a confirming witness to a lot of the things that I teach and study and have come to discernment upon. And I know that you've also put yourself in the line of fire and have, been attacked and vehemently opposed and ridiculed and belittled, and it all comes with the territory. But I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate what you do, and I'm glad to be here with the rest of everybody.
Okay, well, handing it over to you, Zen.
All right, thank you. Um, I also have written several poetry books as well, and I'm currently working on my 36th and 37th, and actually 37th and 38th. And these two will be poetry books. I'll have a couple of selections this evening from those. The first one will be Seekers of Lost Paradise, which I shall release within a month. And the follow up is the second in the series, Remember from Whence Thou Art Fallen. But the first will be just a selection from previous material. Cathedral Grove. Red moon glow, words, soft remedy for occasion. She seeks me for rendezvous among stone carved relic, walking hallowed ground in keen soft step. Crosses huge, ornate, decorate space in lost garden appeal. I watch her, unannounced for pleasure, if only to see the slow century of her grace unfolding. This next poem is one of the newer ones. It's called The Grand Deception as Matrix. The grand deception as matrix is all encompassing, consuming, and broad reaching, yet so covert in imposition, it is largely unannounced and unnoticed by those born into its nurturance. So subtle is its programmed assimilation, one was never even granted choice to deviate from its forced indoctrination. Most people are raised unknowingly as slaves to its order, incarcerated by the deviant proposition of its finite machination. Generations of elder grandparents and parents ensure that the young foster compliance to their inherited beliefs without ever challenging their foundational instillment. Children assume swift accord with the lifelong sentences, posturing them for compliant role as good little worker bee or the soldier ant willing to surrender life for benefit of queen and hive. So few of even the far walkers are able to decode the dialectic fashioned as mind controlled prison. Even those holding advantage, privileged with detailed instruction on how to see, hear, and understand, still they are lost to resolution when it comes to connecting all the dots underlying truth in hidden mystery. Few are granted prerogative, insight into how revelation unlocks all speculation, illuminating the real secrets of who, why we are here, what we are here to do, and where we are going in the mad debacle of this constrained season. This poem is called The Tinfoil Hat Society, and it is about my awakening to biblical cosmology. I have recently been forced to conceptualize the notion of conspiracy and what it means for world in such monumental proportion, the revelation of which, as effectual truth, eclipses in its all-encompassing shadow all other mind-blowing, universe-altering disclosure. Having studied astronomy for 3 years as my life science in college, I believe myself knowledgeable of heavenly motion, more so than most, especially when it came to our so-called solar and universal system. I thought I understood how the sun and the moon interacted with the earth and the other cosmological and planetary objects. Reconsidering the Book of Enoch's book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries, I was led to unlock the ancient mysteries reserved as puzzle for thousands of years within that text. The quandary of grasping what it said left me in perplexity that makes me unable to entertain other focus at this time. And thus, I am readdressing all I thought I once knew about the ancient cosmos, heavenly motion, and the calendrical systems. And though I am far from resolving the deeply profound riddle of the Enochian lunar solar monology and how it relates to biblical cosmology as possibility, I am reviewing subscriptural accounts as why the Lord Most High would grant Joshua authority to stop the trajectory of the sun and the moon if it's the Earth's rotation which advances the sun across the sky. Likewise, how did the greater luminary of the sun regress 10 degrees in movement when Elohim pardoned Hezekiah with this sign, commuting through Isaiah the king's imminent death? These odd stories shattered my foundational truth to what I believed to be the astronomical mechanics of heavenly motion, constructing the clockwork system establishing the zodiacal houses of Mazaroth. My awakening to this epiphany was similar in consequence to the weeks and months post 9/11, when I concluded the official narrative of government story baseless fabrication and ultimate unwarranted impossibility. My, how the shock of learning the truth that the multiple buildings of the World Trade Center complex including the twin trade towers, had to have been previously rigged with high explosives to manifest such tragedy. Contending flat Earth was similar, a light bulb moment to my 2002 epiphany that organic terrorism was historically a shadow governmental sponsored spectacle. The discovery of how little value the lives of citizens, police, firefighters, and other emergency workers meant to the dark menace coordinating such tragedy blew my mind. The twilight of realization that 9/11 was an inside job of deeply Orwellian proportion, and how ignorant and naive the populace was and is, amounted to deeper realization that a lackadaisical citizenry is a greater part of the dystopian problem facing us as world than most anyone considers. 9/11 as inside job and flat earth as fringe revolution could only have been pulled off as modern perplexity by some sinister, unknown facade of representative government still hiding in the shadows of popular consideration. Now, like then, I am in search of a worldview which can and would sufficiently explain my observation and imagination of how things daily truly unfold around and above us as world. Like my cats, when I relocated them to new residence, having disrupted all they knew as house and living quarter, since their entrance into this world as kittens, I now, too, am exploring new boundary and limitation in hopes of making sense of the conundrum facing me as reality of who and where I thought I was within the vastness of this dimensional time space reality. This is another older poem, and it's one of the. I used to write in rhyme, but not so much anymore. I like to emphasize each word, but there was a time. This one's called Thoughts Upon Awakening. The wild innocence that sprung from your eyes was just enough to mesmerize those who dared to look. A chance I took, though I understood things were not great, but were looking good. And you thought I was kidding with the look that I gave, but I told you in a gesture all I needed to say. Her hair shudders in the wind, her eyes darkest brown. She moves like a phantom whisper with slow gesture and little sound. Soliloquy, wind lullaby, full moon on the rise, words that were never spoken, revealed in smiling eyes. Wafting through the breeze, lengths of silky hair, as gentle as her feather voice, parting the winter air. Wide, expansing clouds recede as the sunset dies away, and I'm sure that I can satisfy her mood in every way. A summer dream of beaches, exploring exotic isles. I'd come to know you better, hanging out with you a while. Sharing space with you, I'd become familiar with your ways. Learn about what turns you out, how you like to spend your days, what kind of music you listen to, the different books you've read, people who've inspired you to live the life you've led. I'll tell you of myself, though you may never believe, the things I've come to know from things I've chanced to read. From heaven's loft of floating dreams, another sunrise for you and me. And who are all these weird creatures wandering about in this strange reality? Sunshine dripping from our faces, we trip the dark expanse of stars. Come with me to another place, far from this one of ours. If chances were never given, wild adventure never sought, myths would never be lived, and poetry never wrought. The people would never rise to fight against tyrant kings, and jealous gods would never be appeased by empty offerings. Kings would never war or conspire against things they'd know as right. Seers would never teach or abuse the insight of their lives. Spirit would never impart wisdom through startling dreams, and the impossible Messiah would be left lost and wandering. Damsels would never cry or weave their lovely spells. History would never unfold the way prophecies foretell. I myself, seduced by the wind, going places never seen, have to seek out the forgotten myths and live out the hero's dream. All right, this is another newer poem. It does have some Bible passages in it, just short ones. I'll share as I read. It's called The Seers of New Season. He that answereth the matter before he heareth it, it is a folly and a shame unto him. Proverbs 18:13. The scriptures read meaningless to those unversed in parabolic citation, blinding most to the truth hidden in plain sight as puzzle for all to see. The profundity of gospel message seems gibberish to one unskilled in translation and unscrupled in proper decryption. Like Morse code, some are capable of interpreting communications from on high, sent as message to guide, assist, and direct those ready and capable of receiving the miracle of saving grace established by the cross of salvation. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of a king is to search it out. Proverbs 25:2. Unfathomable the blessing ensured by Yahushua, Savior Messiah, extended freely as gift to those focused on spirit, and eluding those engrossed in the materialism of mass market appeal. The matrix was contrived to hide the real goal of why Christ had to be born of the flesh, taken on mortal embodiment as means to rectify the fall and end the facade of temporal separation. It is and has always been designated function to entertain those callous to spiritual pursuit and disregard for kingdom. We are the inheritors of the most prodigious legacy, an opportunity of lifetime ignored by most. Apportioned the freedom of choice, humanity has been granted the miracle of existence and inclusion with the abundance of this grand world. Once angels, swift and strong, witness to the grand unfolding, established as earthly foundation for the heavens, extended as curtain above the greater mystery. When it comes to the enigma of kingdom, all have equal chance to unseal every abstruse consideration, memorialized in scroll by the efforts of the ancient scribes. Though much has eluded many prophets and kings, in you dwells the memory, the knowledge of how the word of the Lord, by and through wisdom, the Ruach HaKodesh, sang the Genesis creation into manifest being. We are called to more than the expectations of this world. And though it's been little seasons since we've entertained the sunshine of higher spaces, no remedy can replace the intrigue of such wonder, the insight of which can never diminish the emblazoned memory burned to soul of Elohim's love for all. No matter their attempts to hide the truth from those yielding in full to greater calling, Yahuwah always finds way to shepherd his flock from the ravening wolves encircling the lambs for rabid slaughter. Safe passage barred, Yah will split the sea for you to manifest escape, advancing new generation for those who will later pass on the privy riddles beholden by few. You, my friend, have been tasked as a watchman, a watchwoman, a keeper of the secrets, and a guardian of those mysteries christened for the appointed hour. We must deliver once common prophecy to the people of this time, for we are the fig tree generation, born into the season of its bloom. All right, I've got just one more because I know my poems are a little bit long. This is a new one as well. It's called Inconspicuous Quarantine. Most are unaware of the hidden remand formulated to mind, which veiled from periphery encloses all in invisible razor wire. The penitentiary cage confining all in uncertain bondage is dead bolted steel, imperceptible to sensory perception. The walls of the labyrinth suggest the possibility of escape, yet there are no windows to filter the light of exit leading out. The overseers of this penial institution celebrate the subtle imposition of mental bondage, foisting the illusion of freedom to those prioritizing liberty, while at the same time limiting access to sinful excess and wanton pleasure. We're all just trying to survive. The dichotomy of false liberation imposed upon the masses, and yet, unfortunately, most non divergent people are ignorant of their bondage and negligent of their inconspicuous quarantine. All right, I will end it there. I hope that was enough. If it's not, you can tell me. I've got many more before me, but I don't want to hog the time, and I appreciate everybody listening. And I do hope that the words were meaningful for you.
Zen, I love me some flat Earth and 9/11 truth poetry. Now you said that this is you read from some new stuff, which I was not expecting tonight. I totally wasn't. Like I knew you had older poetry, so this was a total treat. And has it been published yet? Or I know you talked about this earlier. Has it been published yet, or is it about to be?
No, it's about to be. Since I got out of the hospital when I was, I was there for 2 months, 2.5 months, and I almost died several times. But
Yeah.
when I got out, I decided I wanted to do something different, that I wanted to write again with creative inspiration. And so I had a number of poems that I had written over the years that I had not yet compiled and worked on. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years since I got out. And I'm now it got so much, the volume is so much that I had to separate it into two different books. But they will both be published within the year. I'm just a matter of putting together the book cover with all the poems, releasing the first book within a month. And then the second one, I just have to do a final read through and I'll release that one as well. But you can find them at sacredwordpublishing.com, which is our publishing house. Noel Hadley is also one of our authors, definitely very good friend. And another thing that I was considering being here with all of these other great poets is compiling a book of mixed poetry from everybody. And this is something maybe we can do once a year. Just compile a bunch of good stuff and release it and let it go out. Because we need creative inspiration and creative writing as this as well. And a lot of times poetry is the way to reach people when you might not otherwise do so.
Yeah, that's a really awesome idea, Zen. And I'm up for it if everyone else is. So thank you for coming by tonight. And this was every time you come by, this is a special treat. I was really excited that you did agree. When I sent it out, I wasn't sure if you would accept it or not, but thank you for coming by and I guess taking up the hitting the street again, right? Going back to your roots and
Right.
and just reading your poetry off. So anything else in?
No, hey man, I appreciate you, Noel, and thank you for doing this. I think this is going to be an awesome, platform for a lot of people. There's a lot of great poets and writers and creative thinkers out there, and so thank you for providing the platform for us to speak our words of truth.
All right. Thank you for coming again, Zen. Good night.
Good night, brother.